Hello everyone. So we'll continue our discussion on international relations 2022 question. What we're going to do is we'll do a very short trend analysis. We'll see what all the question came. We'll do a short trend analysis and we'll try to see how to prepare for international relations in 2023 or later. So I am myself Vivek. I am faculty at Kalam IAS. So let's start the discussion. So these are the four questions. Four questions came this year. These are the four questions. I know most of you might have already gone through it, but still if you want to read it, just pause the video and go through it once. Yeah, let's continue. So how is the questions? One thing you can note down is most questions are very direct. These are not tough questions. These are something which is in news, which is something questions are coming from all those aspects which we prepare. Not difficult questions. And all predictable also. It's not like you haven't seen any of these topics. Sri Lanka, BIMSTEC, SAARC, I2U2, clean energy, all these topics are very much you have part of your syllabus, very much in news, very much relevant to whatever study you are undergoing, and questions have came from these aspects only. From marks perspective, if I look, this is also very fixed. 50 marks is coming from IR, and in 2019 from 19, 17, 18 you can see almost same marks is coming. 2 questions for 15 marks and 2 questions for 10 marks. So let's move ahead. Let's have a small look on where the questions are coming. As I already discussed in short. For first Sri Lanka. Now I don't think this needs more explanation because Sri Lanka is undergoing the financial crisis, economic crisis, and this is always in news. Every other day one or other article from it came. Like how China is responsible for what is happening in Sri Lanka. How the policies like populist policies of Sri Lankan government is responsible for it, how corruption in Sri Lanka is responsible for what is happening, or what is the future of Sri Lanka, or what India did, or what India didn't did. All these aspects, so many news you might have already read. So the question is also very much taken from there, and what is asked also India's role in recent crisis in Sri Lanka. So question is also very straightforward and something which is always in news. See the second question, BIMSTEC. Why this question? If you can remember, last year a question came on SCO. This year a question came on BIMSTEC. So what inference you can take from this? What inference you can take if any regional organization or non-regional organization also, if India is a part of the organization, then questions are regularly coming from these areas. Okay. Now see the third question, it is on I2U2. And the good part of this question is, what is I2U2 is also, who are the part of I2U2 are also given in the question. India, Israel, UAE and USA. So this is called like Western Quad. This is also not something which you haven't heard. If you take any current affairs material which is made for 2022, I'll say any institute, it will have this I2U2. And the first summit happened this year. So this is also very much in news. This question is also derived from news. Look at the fourth question. It is a clean energy. It is on clean energy. Now if you look why this question, why the clean energy question came in IR, few connections you can recall. Glasgow summit happened. What happened at Glasgow? India came up with a net zero policy. Net zero emissions by 2070. At the same Glasgow, there was so much criticism on India's as well as China's coal policy. What we are doing, India and China both are continuing to burn coal for a foreseeable future because we have developmental agenda which cannot be compromised, and very cheap energy is something which is very important to India as much it is important as clean energy. So In G7 summit, our Prime Minister made a statement regarding this. So what you can see, this topic is in news. The only difficulty which a student might face is to connect it with geopolitics. Clean energy, everyone know. Clean energy, what India is doing, what India is not doing, what is India's policy towards it, everyone know. What you have to do is connect it with geopolitics. You still can do. It is also new question taken from news, and you can decently attempt. It's not something very difficult question. So let's move ahead. Let's see if the trend is being followed from previous year also. So what we have seen is all questions in IR are directly taken from current affairs or current events which is happening. And most of the questions are very straightforward, direct and easy. If you thoroughly prepared the breadth and width of the syllabus, you can decently attempt all the questions. See what is happening in the previous years. So a question came on India-Africa. India-Africa relations, a question came. Now a question came on USA is facing existential threat in the form of China. Now why this question came in 2021? If you can recall, China-USA trade war is going on. And what trade war is economic, and what China is doing, China is countering USA in different fronts. For say in Indo-Pacific, for say in technological domination, China is countering USA wherever it can. At least in the regional strategic dimension, China is directly countering US. So China-US issue is going on in news now also. So a question came on this regard. In SCO, this question I already discussed. If a regional organization which India is a part of, which India have stake in it, then the question is coming from there. AUKUS. Why AUKUS came in this year? Because it was formed that year. If you can recall, this year question was I2U2. Why this? It was formed this year. The first summit happened this year. If you can like little throwback, Quad was asked in 2020. Why Quad in 2020? Because the first summit, formal summit happened during that time. So 2021 question. Now look at the 2020 question. One question was on Indian diaspora. Why question on Indian diaspora? As if we can see, whenever a diaspora question is come, there is a regional aspect to it. Sometimes they ask in Middle East diaspora. Sometimes the question comes on African diaspora. So this question was also very much on predictable lines. Now a question in 2020 on WHO. Why a question on WHO? Because 2020 was a pandemic year. And what Mr. Trump was doing? He was very vocal on criticism against WHO. WHO sign nahi kiya, WHO didn't control the pandemic, WHO is biased towards China. All this was Trump's criticism against WHO. At the same time, WHO was doing so many good things. Vaccine Alliance came. They were giving constant talks. The WHO head was always in news. So this is an organization which was very relevant during that time, and a question came from that. Quad I also already told. A question came on Indo-US. Indo-US defense deal. Why this question? In 2000, if you can recall, India signed BECA agreement with USA during the time. And it is due to this, India signed a military agreement with USA. Obviously, it is very relevant. It is very transformative in Indian foreign policy dimension. So it's expected to, a question might come from in this regard. Now see this, why India-Japan question? Because there were high-level visits happening during that time, and India-Japan is always having one or other kind of relationships. So a question came in this regard. See UNESCO. Why UNESCO question came? Now 2011, if you remember, USA stopped funding UNESCO. Now what UNESCO is facing is extreme fund crisis. All its programs are shut down or cut down and trimmed down. All these things were happening, and there was in 2018 what happened? USA completely withdrawn from UNESCO. So post USA withdrawal, UNESCO was in a crisis. There were so many news on UNESCO lost its relevance. UNESCO lost its ability to do something, and it is going to collapse. So it is in this context this question was asked. Secondly, two questions. India is a leader of oppressed and marginalized nations. And another question, India and United States relations. Now these two questions, I will look it as a corollary. I can see India is, what India is doing, strategically India was moving towards US. How India is moving towards US? India was being designated as major defense partner, if you can remember, major defense partner of US. Secondly, Asia Pacific was renamed as Indo-Pacific. So lot of pulling was happening between India and USA strategically. And due to what is the outcome of these happenings? The other side, NAM was losing its relevance. When NAM was losing its relevance, that is the context of this question. What is India's image as a leader of oppressed and marginalized nations? Is it going to be collapsed, or is it going against? Now if you look at this question, why this question? Strategically, I told India and USA are going close. At the same time, USA sued India in WTO for India's which policy? Subsidy policy. Subsidy policy in solar cell or solar promotion scheme, solar energy scheme. USA sued India, saying that India is providing over subsidy, or India is promoting localization, which is against principles of WTO. India lost the case also. So economically, US is against doing things which is again countering India. At the same time, strategically, India and US is coming closer and closer. So that is the contextual base for this question. So what is the whole analysis? What is the whole picture which you can see? Every year IR questions are taken one or other current events which is in news. Every single question in IR is taken directly from current events. So if you are going to prepare for 2023, if India and any country, be it USA, Russia, China, Japan, Australia, UAE, if any major country, something very relevant talks is going on, you should prepare that country very thoroughly. There is a very high chance a question can come. Secondly, if any regional organization, something like SCO, we have seen, something like BIMSTEC or SAARC, any regional organization, not regional also, non-regional organization also, which India is a part of, or India has stake in this, then there is a high chance for questions being repeated from this area. You should prepare it thoroughly. What is the next? If any new grouping is formed, something like AUKUS or I2U2, or something like Quad is coming up during that time. So if any new group is formed, IPF, which was formed this year, question didn't came, but any new group came, you should prepare it thoroughly. Then what? Then on diaspora, I have shown only one question, but whenever diaspora question is coming, it is having a regional tone to it. They will ask diaspora issues in America, or diaspora issues in Middle East, diaspora issues in Africa. So diaspora, if you are preparing, you should prepare with a regionalist mindset or region-wise mindset. So whatever, keep your IR study highly based on current events. Like we say, for society, I told that you should focus on static as well as current affairs, current events. But in IR, it is something very opposite. You should focus very much high on current events. Now, one more aspect to hold this talk is, if you want to make very quality argument in IR, sometimes it is not possible with only the current knowledge. You might need some depth or some historical aspect to it. For example, a question came on India-Israel. India-Israel, a question came. Now, to write on India-Israel changing relationship, you should know what was Nehruvian policy, what was 1950s India's policies towards Israel. now 1990s, how this policy changed, now today where the policy is going. So it is important to have a historical understanding on India's foreign policy evolution. So what we suggest is, but the questions are not at all based on historical aspects. So for anything in the news, you should prepare very thoroughly, and to have a argumentative quality, you should make a fodder material for every topic, with every country, with every grouping. India, Israel, what was it going on? You should have a fodder material. Fodder material means it should be less than 1 page. We will have a discussion on what the material is, how you should prepare it, how you should maintain the fodder material, how you should update it. All these things we will detail discussion during the question answer discussion of these PYQs as well as this paper. So during that time we can discuss more on it. So for today, what you have to keep in mind is all question in IR is current based. So prepare in that aspect. And to give an argumentative quality, you should have a very short historical notes on every organization, every country India is engaging with. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoy the session. Thank you very much.